Hi, welcome to New Normal. My name's Alex. I'm trading derivative, and this is Crypto Today. I'm going to start things off with a theme song by PixelBeats. It's called You Can Pee Next to Me. And into the world of NFTs. I tell you, we have quite the proud tradition. At a new all-time high, my level of excitement is just popping off in all kinds of different ways. I think that this is possibly the next best IRL launch since Tom Sachs' Rocket Factory. Just saying. Just saying. Jake, I mean, like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. I love that this was what I woke up to this morning. Seriously, was pushing things a little too hard. Had kind of like tailored a diet to be favorable for her new chosen line of work of farting in jars, and had to get checked out. Doing fine, seems doing fine, but no one ever said the life of an NFT artist is the easy one. Shanzai!
西瓜四五两真正的包皮脆沙瓤，当四合院的沙发飘着茉莉花香。
Let's get into some of the greatest art that I've seen so far. 2022. Dorkholm is launching a new collection. They are, in my opinion, a phenomenal commentator on the human condition and modern times, as well as the NFT market. And this resonates with me, and I thought I'd share it. The anguished, desperate cry rings hollow in the stillness, and if anyone hears it, they give no sign. You button pushers are gonna taste some action. This instant classic by Dorkholm on their new ERC 721 manifold contract. It is titled 3. Dorkholm will be dropping seemingly regular monthly drops of these, of their style of triptychs, if you will. I love that there are 3 sets, and they're teasing this one ahead of time. I think this is going to lead to a bit of a hype and possibly some competition at launch, possibly some new owners. I'd love to see, other people talking about this artist because I think they're so fantastic. I really enjoy what they do, and I think they have a cool sense of style and cool sense of humor. I even gave Prince and my family didn't quite get it around the holiday, so I still I'm giving them like a physical, like a hard copy of like a paper wallet, so that they can like actually own this digital item. Uh, I covered that in a previous show. Check it out. They post, someone just told me your art is confusing. And in all honesty, I won't dispute that. I make what's in my head, and the odd tangents slash connections that it makes show through often. I wonder what FWIW stands for. I should have looked that up before the show. I take their comment as a compliment. I like a lot of personally. I catch a lot of the pop art references, and I feel the general vibe of a lot of their stuff. I enjoy Dorkholm art, and it's not the first time I've shared it on the show, and I think this is something that like personally I think I want on my walls in the future, and would be cool if it was like even in a museum. I think they make great art. I think this is cool stuff. Find them on Twitter. They got a great sense of humor. Great follow. So the title of this show is Shanzai, and it is colloquialism, or as they say here, a neologism for the word fake. There are now also expressions such as Shanzaiism, Shanzai culture, and Shanzai spirit. Today, Shanzai encompasses all areas of life in China. There are Shanzai books, a Shanzai Nobel Prize, Shanzai movies, Shanzai politicians, Shanzai stars. Initially, the term was applied to cell phones. Shanzai cell phones are forgeries of branded products such as Nokia or Samsung. They are sold under names such as Nokia, Samsung, or Anycat, but they are actually anything but crude forgeries. In terms of design and function, they are hardly inferior to the original. Technological or aesthetic modifications give them their own identity. They are multifunctional and stylish. Shanzai products are characterized in particular by a high degree of flexibility. For example, they can adapt very quickly to a particular needs and situations, which is not possible for products made by large companies because their long production cycles. The Shanzai fully exploits the situation's potential. For this reason alone, it represents a genuinely Chinese phenomenon. The ingenuity of Shanzai products is frequently superior to that of the original. For example, one Shanzai cell phone has the additional function of being able to identify counterfeit money. In this way, it has established itself as an original. The new emerges from surprising variations and combinations. The Shanzai illustrates a particular type of creativity. Gradually, its products depart from the original until they mutate into originals themselves. Established labels are constantly modified. Adidas becomes Adidas, 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 Adis, Dasida, and so on. A truly Dadaist game is being played. And I really like the conversation around like, is it forgery? Is it its own unique thing? Is it infringement of copyright? Is it a lawful exploration of technological innovation? Collin here posting, for your information, there are two left-facing BladeRunner parody projects. That is PAYC, the PhunkyApeYachtClub, and the PHAYC, that is the fake. It's comical. This whole situation is blowing my mind. Before I jump into the over intellectualization of PFP projects. I'll talk about Collin a little bit because he's an amazing artist and he's just like finger on the pulse in the space. And if you check out his collection, you'll see that he's got some really good stuff. He's got really great taste, and if you follow him, you might be able to catch some alpha in the NFT space a little bit ahead of the game. The word Shanzai comes from Chinese characters for mountain fortress or mountain bandit. The term originally referred to copycat manufacturing of the type that Western firms dismiss as blatant fraud, although technically any knockoff goods can be called Shanzai. The word's meaning has recently shifted to refer usually to electronic goods. Shanzai G refers specifically to smartphones, the most common form of counterfeit. Technology analyst the Lindley Group suggests at least 150 million are sold in China and export markets every year. One stall in Buyichang carries an array of Fank iPhones. The next is full of look-alike Android handsets. There are phones shaped like footballs, others resembling Ferraris, and more with barely disguised logos such as BlackBerry and Samsung. Although some Shanzai phones are obvious imitations, others are harder to spot as fakes. Pausing by a stall, they go on, and there's some really cool stuff. They say that the counterfeit phones usually have surprising features, and
I think things will be okay. And demilitarizing the Western IP ecosystem would be great. Right? I think that's something we can do, right? But it's just as hard as bring us back from the brink of the Cold War. Everyone has to sort of ease off, universally agree that we need to have a new paradigm. And I think one of the problems in doing that is that the militarization of IP has really benefited the big companies. And if they back off their stance of having huge caches of IP to nuke the little companies that come up, they're threatened by innovation.
The idea that people developing or iterating on a theme could threaten the well-being of a business kind of shows that the system itself isn't as resilient in many capacities as we'd like to think. And I think that PhunkyApeYachtClub and the Fake project here both kind of exemplify the fact that they probably wouldn't be a big deal if nobody made a big deal out of it. But there's already been all these articles in the, in the news all over the world. There's people talking about intellectual property rights around this conversation. I think it's actually a really positive thing that's happening, even though it seems superfluous and kind of ridiculous. They have a floor of 0.079, which is the same price as the mint for Bored Ape Yacht Club, and Bored Ape Yacht Club actually dropped pretty significantly. I think they were down to 0.03 at one point, was their lowest point, maybe something like that. So it's funny that there's some parallels in this situation. If you look, you can see there's kind of insane amount of volume, 272 ETH on this exchange alone, and I'm pretty sure they sold 200 ETH on OpenSea before they got shut down. So interesting point of fact, there's kind of a lot of Funky Ape Yacht Club volume. The Fake had good first day volume off of this exchange, so this figure's a slightly deceptive, but they also 45 ETH on here, and if a week is not too shabby. Slightly, they have basically the same floor price essentially right now. You can see that like similar spectrum of things being listed. You can see people are you know, going on the bold end of the spectrum with these trippies here. You get a pretty like boss looking leather death bot there. Very nice, very nice. Counterfeit phones usually have surprising features: unexpected video cameras, extra ports, or unusual connectors. He notes that it's worth checking for a spare SIM card slot. Many pirate handsets are targeted at consumers who run a second line to get cheap calls by switching between telecom providers. Dual SIM is probably the most easy to spot, he says, pointing to the extra slot. Whereas legitimate mobile companies have shied away from second slots, Shanzai manufacturers were quick to spot consumer demand. They met it, while their incumbents had trouble meeting it because of their existing relationships. You might expect Shanzai phones to be unreliable, as they're cheap. But Chipcase maintains that in the past few years, something remarkable has happened. The new generation of counterfeits, which he calls superfakes, are often indistinguishable from the real thing and perform just as well. I really got a kick out of diving down this rabbit hole of Shanzai and comparing some of these new projects uh, through this lens and saying, like, you know what, yeah, okay, like, not much innovation is being done here, but let's look at the contracts when they get done. Like, let's give these projects a chance and let's see what their decentralized exchanges, these decentralized NFT exchanges look like and how they operate and how secure they are and who is using them and what the volume is, and let's see what happens. Because what, bro, I call it broken sea. Open sea is broken all the time, and um, I'd really like to see something challenge their kind of supremacy in the space. It would have been really cool if they would have come out and been like, you know what, let's do a token. They didn't. That's kind of weak sauce. So I think the rest of the space is going to remember that they don't seem to be in it for at least what the many people in the space had hoped they were in it for. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? I'm not making any presuppositions. I'm just catching vibes, and you know, so we're not talking on a show about some monkeys. Look at these guys! All right. I had previously talked about the show about derivative projects and how derivatives actually kind of like legitimize a core brand and bring value as well as like breadth and depth to the community, more character, more dynamism. And I don't think too many people like who are collecting these secondaries or collecting these derivative projects, like they do it because they love the original project. They do it because they love the experience they had, or in some cases, they just do in fact want to try to make money, and I think that's okay too. And I mean, look, everyone's here agreeing to purchase JPEGs of monkeys and trade them voluntarily. It's beautiful. Alex Gausman from NFTX says the biggest risk to horizontally flipped NFTs losing value is more horizontally flipped NFTs. If funk price gets high enough, then eventually there will be another fork that starts to gain traction. The more forks that pop up, the more originals will be the only mo. That said, going to keep holding some funks and fakes because it seems like a good risk to reward bet, and also having some exposure keeps me from being swangled about the originals being copied. Alex Gosman's the founder of NFTX. He's character and has some like great insight into the space. Great follow. NFTX is the liquidity protocol for NFTs. And I believe they're coming out with single-side NFT staking soon. What'd you think about that? This is taking its fine time to load, isn't it? This is NFTX, place where you can bring your NFTs and stake them with some counter liquidity, which in this case, many cases, all cases that I'm aware of, is ETH, and it makes the process very simple for you. Hot pools have higher rewards. I believe that there is some sort of governance process. I haven't been terribly involved, though I wish I could have been over the past while. Such is life. Get involved with pizza, and it's the way things go. I love pizza. What can I say? You can see some of these got some pretty decent rewards. And there's quite a variety of NFT collections. 20% on your mooncats, it's better than just sitting on them, I suppose. But bear in mind, to get your deposited token out of the pool, once you get it in, you actually kind of like have to like have enough for a claim. So you have one full claim ticket, and when you like put it in with your liquidity, you actually only get like 0.9 and change or something like that. And that's, in a way, a very clever design mechanism to keep it from being from keeping their. It's a hard line to deliver, I tell you. From keeping all the books in order and from there being a run on the bank. Yes, I got it. So, cool thing is, it's a decentralized market here, and anybody can create their own pools. And if you notice, there are Phunks alongside Bored Apes. You can earn a hearty 900% on BAYC and 192% on Phunks. So you can gain exposure to these projects without having to buy in. You can just buy a token off Sushi. You can supply liquidity on Sushi. It's the same as this. You can actually buy enough to cash out one of these tokens. That's how it works. It's beautiful. It's a great, elegant system. I think it's super cool. And over here you can see that there have been some PAYC transactions. And I think it's a really exciting place. And it's a cool way to long these derivative projects and short or just gain exposure to the BAYC. Or when you think about it, you can just like long the whole space, or buying NFTX is like longing the whole space. It's good positioning. The flipped ape projects having yield is something that's super appealing, especially when it comes to the fact that like it's just an agreement and it could be anything. And people are essentially saying, you know what, yes, we want to move forward and say that this is where we want to lock our value because it's a strong statement. And many people do say that they're not the biggest fans of the way that Larva Labs and Yuga Labs have handled this sort of like derivative situation, with playing whack-a-mole with derivatives and stuff like that, and picking and choosing. And it's been a very interesting narrative and a very interesting bit of history to be part of and be watching. Right now, you can get a fake on NFTX slightly cheaper than you can on the other exchange, which is interesting because you can see ARBs happening as well as being able to get some yield. Currently, the yield for this farm for the PHAYCs is 160%. You go over here to the PhunkyApeYachtClub, where the floor is higher, interestingly enough. So there is an arb. There's like a bit of a seesawing going back and forth between these two projects on the exchanges and on the holy moly, you have a 675% APR. So you have the ability to earn, I believe. Now I wonder if this is how this works with these other kind of like unofficial tokens, if you're earning the PAYC token or if you're earning the NFTX token. Very interesting. I think I'm gonna maybe even go for a little bit of exposure for Bored Apes, just to kind of like be able to ratchet up. When you think about it, I think it's a solid play, especially if it holds good APY. And I think that's the distinguishing characteristic when, you know, talking to a normie, no coiner, or non NFT aware human, and they're like, yeah, I don't get it. How's it different than Beanie Babies? You know, you remember Pogs, right? And in some ways, it's no different than Beanie Babies or Pogs, but the primary way is that you can earn yield on your Beanie Babies and your Pogs. So that's pretty exciting, if you ask me. Looks different, similar inside. Old phone became a translator. Same chipset, different product. Oh, I've been surprised by many things in my life. And the only reason that I can explain why this is still up is because there hasn't been any volume traded. And I think that also speaks to the fact that if nobody had said anything about the Funky Ape Yacht Club or the PHAYCs, they probably wouldn't have 45 ETH in sales. Is zero volume traded on PhakePHAYCs ape exhaustion? Do we now know that like the third tier is at this point the slowest of burns? I don't know. I mean, I might get a little volume going here and see what happens with these little prestige pieces, if you will. What say ya there, community? Ha cha cha. Degen in place, they say. A fake, he can go claim for free. And after that, if you are an ape holder, it says if you are a legacy BAYC or an MAYC or a Phunk or a fake holder, you can mint for 0.03. Interesting developments in the NFT space, if I do say. They have a Twitter space, or a Twitter profile, and you can find them on here. And just the fact that they are doing this and taking themselves a little bit seriously makes me so happy. So funny. Even the description, they're like, you know what? You're not gonna get any special benefits. We're not club here. I don't even know if they do. They even have a Discord? I don't think they have a Discord. Which is cool, because I'm sick of Discords. I got ape exhaustion, I'm over Discords. Bring on the funny. Bring on the clones, they say. Board Ape Yacht Club on NFTX with its healthy, was it? It was 900 and change. It was 900 and something. It was hearty. It was hearty. It was ample. And there, when you think about this being hundreds of thousands of dollars between these monkeys, you kind of understand why, like, there's potential to do it over again, and why people are like, yeah, go ahead, fine. And earning yield on top of it is icing on the cake. It's delightful. You have exposure, but then here we can just kind of like lever it a little bit faster and be like, you know what? We just want to reproduce the effect. Nobody actually has too much interest in what it looks like. But on top of the fact that, like, many of us came into this because we're interested in decentralization. Sometimes returning to old intellectual property stances after, living within an open source framework, it's kind of startling and stuffy. And you can see why some people are pushing back against it. And get a kick out of the idea of over intellectualizing this, but just to keep things simple, I think it's like it's a lot of fun and it's a rebellious act. Win-win. It's what people need in this time. We'll see how it plays out. Never invest more than you can lose. Always do your own research. But, the first 500 are a free mint on the fakes. The PhakePHAYCs. And at some point, people realize that it's really about writing your own smart contracts and making your own art. Being a creator. Not just dipping your toe in, but being part of and making the world that you want to live in. Yield farming, derivative apes, in all the timelines, in all the worlds, in all my imaginings. I'm alright with this.
Exactly one person owns the right to it globally. Like Apple has the right to the phone with rounded rectangles. They're the only people who can produce that. Really? Like, seriously? This is the world we're going to live in? Like, we just give people monopolies through the IP system for 20 years for stupid ideas because they were first to file.
It speaks to the nature of Bitcoin when you see people pushing back against intellectual property assertions from powerful kind of financial or like powerful brands. That's better. There's a lot of weight behind Bored Ape Yacht Club, and it happened very fast. Was there some kind of secret recipe to success, or was it timing? Is a big question that I think a lot of people are asking and are going to continue to ask for a long time. But writing your own smart contract, spinning up an exchange, hyping enough people to actually get enough liquidity and like really do the thing. That's definitely in the spirit of censorship resistance, immutability, and decentralization. I love it. I think it's awesome. Many Bitcoiners will tell you that NFTs are some kind of farcical endeavor, but I think really it speaks to one's ability to be a creator and monetize easily or exchange, transact value easily. And perhaps for every single kind of like criterion collection, if you will. Like for every quintessential NFT collection, there will perhaps be a Phunk project. The Phunks, whether they were the first or, whatever, degree of connection to the original project, they had staying power, and the people that found their way into that community pushed and continue to, not just shill, but talk about why it's a almost like an investment. And you see people thinking differently about their relationship to these Veblen goods and what that means in relationship to kind of the herd. And it seems like some people want to have this so that they feel like they are in the right herd or they're standing out from other herds. Again, get quite the kick, and in a lot of ways feel like this is sort of a GameStop moment. Just putting that out there. It's just a decision. It's as simple as that. There's all sorts of different ways to get exposure to NFTs without buying a whole one, or with, like if you want to financialize the speculative asset, how are you going to get to that point? And there's a lot of really great tools that are already in existence that are pretty easy to use. For instance, you can gain exposure to a right-facing Pebble project. I think I got airdropped some of these because I own a flipped rock and flipped EtherRock. And it's like, you know what? I want exposure to original EtherRocks because I think one day I would like to own an EtherRock. I sat on my hands and watched it go past 1 ETH, 3 ETH, and I was like, gosh, I'm utterly confused. I thought about buying one of these, and now I know why I should have. And you have the ability to gain exposure to these like rip-off projects, which for all intents and purposes, in that Shanzai spirit, seem to work for the person who's holding them. And there's enough people that say, you know what, we like this and we want to do this and we'll do this together. And you never know, sometimes there might be more in one camp than the original camp. Personally, I think that Phunks have a good chance. They have a good chance to run. Who knows? Who knows? Shanzai is a Chinese term literally meaning mountain forest. Mountain fortress or mountain village, whose contemporary use usually encompasses counterfeit, imitation, or parody products and events and the subculture surrounding them. Shanzai products can include counterfeit consumer and electronic goods, which can involve the imitation and trademark infringement of brands and companies. The term's modern usage grew around 2008 when counterfeit smartphones reached their greatest domestic use. Today, some relate the term with grassroots innovation and creativity rather than with falsehood or imitation. I think that's a really cool take. Kind of like what that other guy was talking about in the Wired documentary. It's been a very interesting exploration. And to know that there's like a word for being, almost like an aftermarket hack. I love it. I think it's really cool. I think it's a romantic concept to me. And I think there's definitely like a division of like the kind of the camps that people fall in of like what they think is permissible and appropriate, and like something like this might be more Shanzai to somebody. Like it's a front-facing punk PFP project. that might be more appealing than a flipped PFP project. To them, they're staying with their integrity, but still kind of like, you know, gaining exposure to the main brand by proxy, whether they acknowledge it or not. Is fast food EtherRocks a Shanzai project versus a flip? Like, is this something that could be like a discernible uh, kind of like new avenue, new genre of crypto art? Oh, DickleButts, there they go. They're so cute. Are DickleButts the Shanzai crypto dickbutt? Very, very sorry. Uh, you wonderful viewer, you. If you've made it this far, you are uh, one of the strong ones. And if you stick around, there's always alpha. Every single one of these episodes, I try to do, either some kind of like call to action or like let you know about an airdrop. And I got a couple coming up, and I'm also doing a top five. I don't usually do charts or anything like that, but I thought I'd be like, okay, here's some crypto stuff too.
Of the chain, and you're going to need other people's help. And so you build networks of collaborations with people by sharing in this open source philosophy.
The documentary really spoke to me, and I see it in the crypto space so much that people really want to say, like, let's do this. We got to do this together. We're going to rock it, and we're going to innovate while we're doing it. And in many cases, be the proud and true declarer of being the first to do this new thing. It's exciting. Project which has my interest is this treasure DAO thing. There's a lot of hype around it, and I don't know enough. And I've been digging into it, and I just kind of wanted to dish that there's been a ton of hype around it, and like, you can get these small brain apes on Arbitrum, I believe, and I think there's many like different engagement kind of contact points for how you can interact with these NFTs. NFT Machine says, so after literally 3 hours of cataloging my treasure NFT items in a spreadsheet and fetching the prices from Arbitrum Marketplace, here are the results. 54,000 worth of magic at current market prices. Magic is trading at $4.36. So I basically just found $235,000 in my wallet. That's pretty amazing. That's a haul right there. That's cool, and I don't even know how I can get a little bit of that action. Oh no, there it goes again. Treasure DAO is building bridges between metaverses with magic and treasures. To prepare for the launch of our native marketplace, we wanted to recap the project for new users. Treasure began with a simple idea. What if we built a metaverse around fictional resources instead of characters? From there, the Treasure metaverse was born. Very cool. Legion's Bridge World. Bridge World is the flagship product of Treasure. Bridge World, or Legions, as they are represented by, is an undercurrent world beneath the undulating waves of other worlds, unseen, independent, but ever present. In Bridge World, players are the soul and legions are the bodies fallen from myriads of other worlds. Players take control of legions and mine, farm, craft, quest, battle, and more to propagate and build the Bridge World together. I'm very excited, and I think the art that I've seen teased, and their general launch strategy has just been very exciting to me. And it seems like, as I said, there's multiple contact points, not just these small brains, but maybe 5 other collections which give you exposure to this ecosystem as well. I don't know how it all works or how it all fits together, but maybe if by talking about it and sharing it, the info will kind of come back around. As you can see, they have a kind of farming DeFi ecosystem here. They have Magic Bonds on Olympus Pro. And you could also farm on Sushi, it seems. It says you can no longer claim for this contract, so maybe those rewards are passed and they've moved to a different exchange. I'm not sure. But the fact that people have kind of pushed for it to be on Olympus and there's a lot of hype around it seems interesting. And they even apply some single-sided staking strategies using DopeX. I was very, very intrigued by this whole thing. I'm interested in DopeX and what they have going on in that ecosystem. FlirtDAO is another thing that seems like it has some good energy around it, and whispers of the knocks at OpenSea's door, if you will. And there's a connection here between NFTX and FlirtDAO. And if you do your own research, you might find out a little bit more. Hello DeFi, meet NFTs. Topic which greatly interests me. FlirtDAO, supporting the floor. They sit at the intersection between DeFi and NFTs, generating deep yield, earning liquidity for blue chip NFTs, starting with CryptoPhunks, DeFi NFTs. Now, another project that I've heard rumblings of, there was talk of it in the Bunchy Discord. I've seen a couple little tidbits here and there, and now they've been pushing a little further and harder and getting information out to the community and also posting calls to action. Previously, there was a call to join the creator community. Now there's a call to join what is, I believe, called the Nilstador initiative, if you will. Less than 2 months after the protocol deployment, NIL initial contributors are sharing their vision for the most powerful metaverse marketplace. Fasten your seatbelt, the future is bright, and you are a part of it. Into the metaverse, NIL will be the central endpoint on which you perform financial activities with your NFTs. The DeFi and NFT intersection, we believe, a NFT value relies solely on the tribe behind it. There will be as many marketplaces as tribes. The separation between transaction and social interactions will fade. Very interesting hypothesis, and I am curious to see what happens, and I'm interested to get involved. As I said, they've put out a call to action on their Twitter page, and it says the NIL Ethereum expansion begins. Fill the Nilstador form to start contributing and receive your welcoming pack. Airdrops go from $20,000 to $200,000 worth of VNIL token. That's got my attention. I don't know about you. You can fill out the form, and you can read more at their mirror post here. One thing that caught my eye, it says, on the product side, 3 fronts have been identified as priority to defeat the broken sea. There's curation, community curation, launchpads. There's NFT signaling, the graph inspired. Veblen trading, excuse me. Primary market, secondary market, nil market, messaging support, and the gallery visualizer. show off your Veblen digital goods. High frequency trading, floor sweeping, batch transaction, bot friendly bidding, and an order book. That's a little bit of depth that OpenSea doesn't have, and personally, I could go for that sort of thing. Their recruiting the Nilitarium recruiting sequence is dishing out $35 million with welcoming packs from $20,000 to $200,000 in vinyl token. Become a Nilstador. Fill out the forum, dig around, check it out. You can see that they're already set up. You get your token, you stake it, and earn some yield. You connect your wallet. There'll be a link in the description. You can see what the percentage rate is. NilDAO has my interest, and the ability to curate and communicate within the NFT space is something that I think would boost the game of kind of the generalized middle. There's a lot of people that are loud on the fringes, and they're very influential. But when you have a more dynamic tool, a more dynamic marketplace, you might find that it raises the level of what is taking place or being exchanged on that marketplace. NilDAO seems like it has the potential to raise the level of the NFT space. I'm stoked. I got this exciting video. Some dank theme music. Oh yeah. Go fill out the form. If you feel that you can contribute, let some people know. They give some examples of how you can help fill out the form. In which DAOs have you been most active? They're like, are you a community enjoyer, an Olympus, a community animation, an Aave, front-end developer, and Convex, a meme creator? What do you bring to the table, and why do you want to join NilDAO? Personally, I think that I can contribute by making content. Personally, I'm a collector and an artist, and I think that I have a keen eye for stuff that is intriguing, and I'd like to start conversations around different artists, different enclaves in the art scene, and get a little buzz going, and also talk about partnerships and see who's interested in working together and accomplishing what. If you're interested in working for a DAO and taking part, fill out the form, check it out. Take your time filling it out, think about what you want to do, and if it's right for you. There's also the Nil DAO Creators Program. I've run out of water. There's also the Nil Creators Program, and you can submit the form to request to join the creators cohort as well if you are more on the artist and creator side of things. Now, thank you for sticking around. There's still a little bit more alpha. If you stick to the very end, there will be yet another airdrop that I am alerting you to. I'm going to talk about my top 5, just super briefly, wrapping up. Ethereum, because honestly, it is going to be the primary settlement layer if things continue the way they go and the merge goes as planned. It's going to be pretty boss. I'm very excited. Curve, which looks like is retracing right now in the 69th coin position. Possibly a buying opportunity. Personally, I think the Curve Wars, if you will, is a major line of skirmish in the world of finance and is developing into quite possibly the largest DEX on the planet. Hopefully, they can hold that position and grow their mind share and market share and change the world of finance. Pretty exciting. Join the Curve Wars. Even Pizza DAO is joining the Curve Wars. DopeX, very exciting. Solid trajectory. Decentralized options exchange. Really exciting product. You can gain exposure. Good upside. You don't have to play their market. You don't have to make any orders. You can just provide liquidity. It's pretty cool. GMX has probably the most solid, kind of like dummy-proof single asset form of exposure to the big three. You get Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Tether, USDT, and you have exposure to the plays going on this exchange. GMX is really awesome, and if you choose to use the options trading or the leverage trading side of things, it's a very smooth interface. It's fun. Good trades. Finally, New Order. Oof. Solid moves from the lower end of the market cap spectrum, and it looks like it could have a long way to go. You never know. Always do your research. New Order is, I would say, sort of an incubator, if you will. And they have cool partnerships in the works, such as with Redacted and Optify, I believe, and there's a couple others that seem to be in the stable, if you will. And I believe that they even have like an airdrop program where if you're part of the DAO, you gain exposure to airdrops in the future. Seems like a cool gig. As stated, Curve is a really cool DEX, and when you stake your Curve, you gain rewards for the stuff that you're farming. And there's, for instance, like Convex built on top of Curve now, and there's also Bent built on top of Convex, and it's just this flywheel mechanism coming for more and more Curve to be locked so that more and more people can control monetary policy globally. It's fascinating. As previously stated, DopeX is a decentralized options exchange. DopeX is a maximum liquidity and minimal exposure options protocol. Check it out. Do your own research. But there's really cool multiple points of contact where you can choose your own risk level and what kind of exposure you want to get, and farm solid rewards program. GLP is that single asset that I mentioned, which is how you can gain access or gain exposure to Ethereum, BTC, and Tether, and it gives you rewards. Last I checked, it was something like 40%, which is pretty solid for holding, one asset, and you get good return. You get 40% in their token, but you also get rewards in Ethereum, and it may be broken up in some fashion. It may total 40%. I'm not exactly sure. Always do your own research. I'm just some dude online, kind of winging that myself. New Order is a community-led venture DAO for DeFi. All sorts of stuff is in the works. They have a really cool model and solid approach. New Order's got my attention. It's very exciting. And finally, last couple bits of alpha on a dish here. Fees.wtf has declared that they have done some sort of snapshot. They're looking for donations. No, well, maybe if you donate, you're going to. I should check what block we're at and maybe make a solid donation to Fees WTF for a little boost, perhaps. A little credit there. Hey. Oh, here we go. When token soon. What token? WTF? WTF NFTs? WTF staking and LP staking on launch, and much, much more. Donations? We set block deadlines to get everything wrapped up for launch. With that said, we don't penalize supporters that miss them. If you've ever checked your fees.wtf and had your heart broken, maybe you can have like a little bit of solace, a little bit of closure here. Who knows what's going to happen? I think fees.wtf is a great community service, solid crypto public good, created by a adventurous and creative individual who seems to have something in mind for how things can proceed in the future. Very, very curious to see what happens. A lot of interesting airdrops coming up. Further, recently Curvins posted drop.eth domain and will add you to a very special list. I don't know if there has been a cutoff. I don't know if there's other ways to gain exposure to the Curvins airdrop. I don't know if being a V curve holder will do it for you. I have no idea. I was digging in here. There isn't. They still leave a little bit open ended. But it says it's no surprise this list was created for users to receive a portion of CV airdrop. However, we were pretty shocked by how many entries we received. Skipping forward. With this in mind, our team has decided to implement a few social tracking bots with the Discord to reward those who provide social value. So if you're posting online and you're engaging with them meaningfully, I think that's another way to get access to this airdrop. Curvin seems like a really good community, and it seems like a really good strategy moving forward. I'm excited to see what happens. Check it out. As stated, Curvins. And it also says, beware, a fake token contract has been created for CVE. Do not interact with this contract. It's not real. We do not have a token at this time. Good disclaimer. Check it out. You don't want to get excited, get hyped, and go flying off and compromise yourself there. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a fun one. I filmed two versions of this episode today, and I'm happy that I did. This one felt a little bit better than the previous version. I really enjoy doing this show, and I thank anybody who sticks around to the end and tunes in. I wish you all the weirdest. This is PixelBeats.